Welcome to In Real Time, where we as Heights Church are inviting you in for real conversations about leading people, organizations, and change in the new normal. We're hoping that our real discussions about our church's journey will help you as you reimagine and rebuild yours. Welcome to In Real Time, where we're having real conversations about, leading people, organization, and change. And today we're going to be talking about Craig's back, and I am back. I've been on sabbatical for 6 weeks, and, now it's about would I do it again? So we're going to dig into that a little bit, and I've got two co-hosts that are going to help me do that. Before I have them introduce themselves, please hit like and subscribe and the bell notification so you do not miss one episode as it drops. And now, why don't you two monkeys introduce yourselves? We've been acting like monkeys before we started this whole thing.
Yep.
So
You.
Exactly.
Oh, it's me. My name's Bronson, and I oversee all student ministries here at Heights Church, and I'm super stoked to be here.
Yeah.
I'm
Nice.
trying to grow a beard like this guy.
That's it.
working.
That's it.
Good luck.
They're working on it.
That's it. All you can do is work on it.
Yep.
My name is Tim. I am the online campus pastor. So I oversee all the online, also a teaching pastor, and oversee a number of different ministries around Heights.
Very cool. Well, what are we doing today?
Here's what we're going to do. Since you are fresh back from your sabbatical,
Yes.
Bronson and I are going to interview you.
Dun, dun,
Great.
dun.
Yeah, we're going to kind of just turn the table a bit. We have some questions for you.
All right. So this is a total setup for failure. You guys are...
Right. Well, we just know that... one, welcome back from sabbatical.
Yep.
Thank
Been
you.
Awesome.
Yep.
Thank
you. We just know that there's a lot of things, one, that you gleaned, you learned, and could encourage other leads and senior leads as maybe to encourage them to do their own sabbatical. And so we want to just kind of break that down and so whatnot. So here's our first question. We're going to get right to it.
Right to it.
It's two-parter. Would you do it again? Mm-hmm. And if so, or if not, why?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. And I do think it's worth asking because not all sabbaticals, I think, are created equal. So I hope we get to actually get into that because there is a sabbatical process that makes it worth doing again.
Nice.
So the quick answer is yes, I would absolutely do it again. And not just because it was refreshing, although that is awesome. It was refreshing, but I would do it because as I've come back, I am way more healthier than when I left. And it was one of those, you guys know, I was talking about it. I was like, I'm not really sure that I need this. And but as I got onto it, I realized within just the first couple of weeks, I really needed this way more than I thought I did. And so, it was one of those things, you just don't know what you don't know until you get into it, and then you start knowing it. But you have to put yourself in the position to know it.
Right.
So taking the sabbatical, it was necessary. So the answer is yes, I would, and the reason is because I needed it. So that's the reason. That's the answer.
That's good. That's good. I love how you use the word refreshing, right? Because some people are probably thinking he's on a sabbatical. He's probably sitting on a beach somewhere and getting hit by waves or something to refresh. But I think it's important when we talk about sabbatical to be able to discuss what's the difference between like a sabbatical and a vacation, because it really wasn't a vacation at the end of it.
Right. Yeah. No, that's a great distinction between them because a vacation is just whatever. And you're planning and you're usually busy doing a whole lot of stuff, entertaining yourself. Sabbaticals are kind of, for us, and they can be a lot of things, but for us, they're a mixture of time off, vacationing, but also working through a process of really getting your heart, your mind, your spirit healthy again. And I say healthy again, not because I felt like I was completely out of whack, but doing what we do, you're going to get out of whack. Okay? I mean, the honest truth
stuff,
is
right?
we're carrying an extremely heavy load.
Right.
And it is a spiritual load that honestly few people understand. When you I should say it this way, when you care about people. You can do this job, if you will, and really not care about people, which is unfortunate. I've met people like that, met pastors. Or you can be a pastor who cares about people and therefore it weighs on you because you actually care about what's happening to people and what God's doing in their life and what they're allowing God to do. And you feel the weight of even the decisions that other people make for themselves, for their families. And that is a heavy burden that you try not to carry as much, but at the end of the day, how can you not? You care about these people. So you care about the decisions they make.
Right.
So when you're on sabbatical, you're working through the weight that you have picked up. And, I know I told you guys before, I'm not really sure how much I need this, but something told me I did and that I should take it. And then, of course, there was that conversation with the board where the board said, look, it's been a long 3 years, and we want to help you, give you some space and some time because we need you for the next season to be strong. And they recognized that this would be a good thing and this was the right time for it. So I took it, and while I was getting into it, I realized, wow, there's a lot that's here. Is now a good time to kind of talk about the process, or should I do that a little later?
I was going to say, talk about a little bit before we move on to the next question. Talk a little about, maybe unpack, what it looked like for you. What were some of the things that you did? What was your day-to-day? Maybe give us some, a timeline or something to give people kind of a big picture of what it looked like.
Great. So ours this time, which was unusual, it was a 6 week. So I actually took 3 weeks of my own PTO, my own personal time off, and dedicated it towards it. Then the board actually gifted me 3 weeks, 3 extra weeks. And it actually wound up being like 2.5 because we did a conference in the second week of our sabbatical that we had to go to. So, which was great. It was refreshing. That was a good part of it too. But anyway, so all that to say, it was a total of start to finish 6 weeks. And through that 6 weeks, it's a combination of, yes, relaxing, vacation, but then also we have a packet. It's a 4-page packet of questions that we work through. And it's questions like, do you, they're softball questions, I mean, they're things that, really, they're not going to hit hard at all. Things like, are there people that you're upset at? Are you mad at anybody? Are you carrying any resentment? Are there any offenses that you find yourself carrying? Right? I mean, we're very direct with them because we need to be, because what we do is too serious to allow our hearts and our minds to be in bad places. The offenses and the weights that we do wind up carrying as pastors are toxic to us. And we don't want that, which is why sabbaticals are important, and it's a part of a regular rhythm about every 5 years. And so I was working through that, and I had been dealing with those things throughout the last 3 years specifically, but obviously, I don't have to tell everybody how intense the last 3 years have been. They've been intense for everybody. But through that, honestly, as things would happen and offenses would come up, and there's been many, right? I mean, there just have. And so as those would happen, you deal with them in real time. But unless you take a longer period of time to actually come back and revisit those and really work through and make sure that it's all gone, then you don't really know. And so I can tell you honestly, there were 6 people that the Lord brought to my mind that I had to work through some issues with. And I was picking up the offense again. And I was carrying the weight. So I'm like emptying out my pockets, and I'm like, man, I got more here than I knew. And of course, that was why the sabbatical turned out to be such a gift, because that weight, when you're carrying those offenses, I'd say that was one of the biggest things that I was able to work through. That's just toxic to your soul. But unless you have time to detach and then actually focus in your mind and your heart and allow the Holy Spirit to speak to you about those things, then when are you going to actually work it through? When are you going to give it up? When are you going to choose to forgive? When are you going to work that through? Well, the sabbatical wound up being that for me. So the packet allows that. So it asks you questions about, what's your spiritual life look like today? What could it look like? What does your physical life look like today? In other words, hey, could you lose a couple pounds? Like, yeah, all right. I haven't been taking good care of myself. What's your emotional stability like? Are there things there? Are there red flags that you need to be looking at? What does your family have to say about those things in your life? Because they're the truth tellers, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah, I can lie to myself, but they're the truth tellers. Are you on edge about anything? What are those things that you're really worried about? Do you find fears coming in that are overwhelming you? Anxieties? I mean, there's a lot of really good, pointed questions that help you. And then you start, as you're diagnosing your mind and your heart, working through these issues, then it comes down to, well, what could your spiritual life look like? What would your best spiritual look like? How would what does healthy look like for you physically? What does healthy look like for you emotionally? And so you start to describe those things and really kind of rebuild it, your life, so that when you come back, you're not coming back to the same. You're able to think differently about it and say, well, I want to actually change some things up in my rhythms as I come back. And so you're able to do that, I think, in a much healthier way. And so having that space of time gives you the ability to kind of walk it through, break it down, and then start building it back in a really positive way.
So the thing is that for sabbaticals, have a plan.
Have a plan.
For us, we have this packet that has been kind of put together over the years, and we've been using that time and time again with our pastors on staff who take their sabbaticals. But don't go into it willy-nilly. Have a plan. Get some rest. Spend time with the Lord. I know when I did my sabbatical, mine was in the morning. Take a walk, come home, cup of coffee, and I would spend as much time as the Holy Spirit said to sit in that seat. And I had a book. I had the packet. And because if I didn't have a plan, to help guide me, I could have just binge watched, that's not hell. That's not the idea.
That's not the idea. No, you're right. And because it is a combination of PTO and then the working through these things too, basically what it kind of looked like for me was I would take these questions, and I took day one. I started with page one. And, are there, I think the first question is just, are there people in your life that have offended you, that you're still holding something against? It's like, so, they start off, really small. You're like, no, it's like, what?
Cannonball right in.
And then you're just processing it. It gives you space to meditate on it. And then I honestly went for a bike ride.
That's what you do.
I went for a bike ride. And I'm just pondering it. I'm thinking about it. And I'm just allowing God to speak to me about it. And then I'm like, oh, well, okay. There's this, and then there is somebody else. Well, and then there's that, and then, oh my word, that was 2 years ago. I completely forgot, but you know what? Yeah, there is something there. And then the good thing was there was only 6.
That's true.
There was only 6. And I'm saying that, and I'm not being facetious because, quite honestly, it could have been 800.
Absolutely.
I'm not being facetious. That's a reality. It could have been, but it wasn't. It was just 6.
I hope we weren't on that list.
You were not on that list. You're not on that list.
I was going to ask you, have you had that conversation? Because,
Not at all. Awesome. Some of these things, do require, the question is like, hey, is there anything you need to do to resolve it? But do you need to initiate a conversation? In all 6 of these, that had already been done. But I had picked the offense up back again. That's what happened. So I had resolved it before, but I picked it up again. Well, that's my bad. But that's why you do this, because you need to make sure you're not allowing that toxic in your life. But so you meditate on it, and then other days I'd go to the cafe and spend 3 hours just working through the questions, journaling, thinking about it, reading scripture. God would lead me to certain passages, and I would meditate on that. Maybe it had nothing to do with the questions. It was just about God feeding me about who I am. And so I learned some things about myself at this point in time that, I needed to. So anyway, that's kind of
so
too
then
long of an answer.
Would you recommend a sabbatical to others?
I would. I would. And I think even if you don't think that you need it, I would definitely recommend it. I remember being in a meeting, a gathering of pastors, and I was thinking to myself, I'd heard a lot of stories of different pastors in the meeting, and I remember thinking, there was somebody up front saying, hey, pastors should be taking a sabbatical. You need to take some time off. And I thought, well, I think, honestly, our church is actually faring a little better than most of these other stories I've heard. I'm the last person who should be taking it. These other people need to take it first. And then that person from the front, Jean Gorman, she said, she goes, and by the way, if your church is doing a little better than others, you need to know that you probably need it just as bad or more. And because you've been just as busy or more. And immediately I knew she was right.
That's such good wisdom.
Yeah, she was right.
It doesn't matter if things are looking great and you've weathered the last 3 years. You're working hard to make that happen.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't just happen.
Exactly. But people in that.
Yeah, we're not doing well because it just happened.
Right.
Yeah.
No, it was a massive concerted effort over the last 3 years to make that happen.
And I love how you're talking about your thoughts and processes and emotions as the speaker was speaking. You went to go disqualify yourself from what she was saying, and then God literally spoke to you. So I'd love to take a moment and really talk about what were maybe some of your emotions or thoughts or reasons why you would hesitate to take a sabbatical.
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, there were some thoughts I hung on to longer than others, but I think the thoughts that did run through my mind was, oh, that's for weak people.
Yeah.
Just being honest.
Yep.
I didn't hold on to that one for long, but I've heard people say that.
Yeah.
And so it did run through my mind. I thought, oh no, I don't need to do that because we're doing well considering all things, and so I don't need to be that guy. Other people need that more than I do. And I realized again as she was speaking that, well, but you've also put out effort. And so if you have that ability, you need to be ready for the next season because there's a whole nother season coming. And if you don't rest now, if you don't get your heart and mind clean now, then and prepared and healthy and thriving, then how will you be ready for that? That you're not going to be. You're going to be depleted when you start the next season. Why don't you be rested and strong for the beginning of it? And that was very helpful for me. But I think the other thing was that I honestly felt bad for my staff team, for you guys, because I felt like I was leaving you holding the bag. Well, if I take a sabbatical, it's been hard for everybody. If I take a sabbatical now, then I'm leaving this burden with the team. And so that was really hard for me because I don't want to be that leader who seems to be setting aside my responsibility or making somebody else do what I feel is my responsibility. But I was able to work through that because I realized that we are a team, and I realized that our team wants to carry this responsibility. You guys want this more. And so I needed to let you have that, and I needed to take even your advice because you guys actually even told me in my review you need to take time off, which I was completely shocked that y'all said. But all that happened around the same time.
Yep. I remember.
And so it all came together in that moment, and I just felt like I need to do this, and it felt confirmation. So you guys wanted it. You wanted me to take it. I'm hearing it from this other person who's wiser than I am, and I need to listen. And I'm really glad I did because I didn't realize how weak, diminished, I would say, that I really was. So,
So you would just say if you're evaluating or thinking through maybe taking a sabbatical, but yet some things are working against you, don't just automatically say no. Like investigate, dig in, spend some time,
stay curious,
breaking those things down.
yeah.
Because chances are you do need a sabbatical, especially if it's been some time. I mean,
Yeah.
if it's been a long time, or we've said this in past podcasts. It's like talk to your staff.
Yeah.
If you're thinking about it, ask your staff.
Yeah.
Ask your board.
Yeah, and I think honestly, as I look at it, I realize that we deal with these things in real time. I deal with offenses. It's not like I didn't know that these people had offended me and I was carrying a weight. I did. But I dealt with it in the moment, and you do your best, and it was an honest effort. But like everybody else, I mean, you get so busy doing everything else and carrying other burdens that you don't realize, my backpack's getting heavier.
Yeah.
You just get used to that.
Right, yeah.
And it's only until you set the backpack down and you start unpacking it, you realize, wait, why am I carrying this? I need to let this go.
Yeah.
This is not healthy. And then you start realizing how that toxicity starts coming out in your life in other ways. And so that's where your family can help you. Those closest to you can help you. And you just need to be able to listen and invite him in. So my wife and I even had conversations. She went through the same packet with me during the period of time. And then we had conversations together about our answers. And it was healing. And we actually even did a hike together. It took us like 5 hours to do this hike. But there was a purpose in the hike.
Right.
When we got to our destination, that was all part of this sabbatical and kind of an ending point. And
Yeah, I
it
know.
was really meaningful.
I noticed that you would say I or we in the beginning sections, which made me think, I wonder how much your wife was a part of this.
Yeah.
And was that on purpose? Was that planned or not planned? But it'd be intriguing to hear, like, how much did you bring your wife in on this?
Yeah, brought her in really close.
Yeah.
Because bottom line is she's my partner, and there's nothing I'm going through that she's not going through too.
Right.
She feels the weight of the mission just like I do.
Yeah.
As much. And so, yeah, everything I've been experiencing, she's experienced, you know. And think about it. When people insult, when people offend your spouse, honestly, I'm saying for me, that's harder for me to deal with than people who offend me personally.
Yes.
And she's on the other end of that, having to deal with that and work through that. And she did. What a trooper. And so we got to just heal together. That's important. Otherwise, we heal apart, or we don't heal. And part of the healing was for us to actually compare notes and to talk and to open some doors for each other on that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was good, really good. I highly recommend it. I wouldn't say that that's always how we've experienced our sabbaticals, because I've taken one before, and she was at a very different place, a really healthy place, and it was just different on that one. But this one, oh yeah, we had both gone through the last 3 years hand in hand in a closer way than we had done anything else before, and so she needed it as much as I did.
That's good.
I hear through this time we've had together that there's some huge benefits for you. There are some huge benefits.
Huge benefits.
Anything come to mind that you would just share off the top of your head?
Yeah, I would. I would say that one of the big epiphanies for me is realizing just how negative my thought life had become.
Wow.
And I mean the negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Oh, about yourself.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the negative self-talk. And I think it's the pressures and the anxieties and the fears of just how fragile things can feel at times. And it sticks with you longer than you think it does. And that self-talk, it doesn't just go away on its own. It builds. And so there was a point in my sabbatical where I realized I started writing down the thoughts that I think often, and I couldn't believe how long that list was. And once I wrote it down, I'm looking at it, and I just felt the Spirit of the Lord say, is any of that even true? I'm like, no. But yet this is something you keep rehearsing in your mind. And it was so much easier to let it go once you did that. But I wouldn't have had that space unless I'd taken the time in the sabbatical. And honestly, that came week 5.
Whoa. Okay.
Week 5 out of 6. I didn't even get that week 2 or 3. It was only after I had gone through that breaking down process, then starting to move into that rebuild process, that I had the calm of the Holy Spirit to think and to meditate now. I would say more with, as Paul would say, the mind of Christ, that I could actually even see it. Like I wasn't even recognizing that before. And then now it was like, oh my word, that is so obvious. How did I miss it? And ever since that moment, I remember where I was. And ever since that moment, it's like, wow, freedom. Boom. Drop that weight.
That's amazing.
Emptied the backpack, walked away from it, and my mind and my self-talk is so different now. So,
Good
it's
for you.
way better.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we're wrapping up. What would be your challenge?
My challenge is pick a sabbatical if you can. And I realize not everybody can, but I want to reiterate the fact I had 3 weeks of my own personal time off vacation days that I invested in this. This was not just some gift that I took and, hey, great, you know. No. I initiated this to say I need this. I'm going to invest my own time in it. Because honestly, a trip to Tahoe or a staycation or go to, Mexico on a cruise or whatever would not have had the same effect whatsoever. I would have come back the same person. And that is not what I needed. And so sometimes, hey, you know what? The sacrifice. Yeah. I'm not gonna ask something of God without giving him a sacrifice. And I sacrificed my own time for it. And I would do it all over again. It was absolutely worth it. What I feel now and the freedom I'm walking in, wow. So
that's great.
My challenge is any way you can find some space. You may not be able to find 5-6 weeks, probably can't. But what can you do? 2 days, 3 days, get away for a day or two, just find a rhythm in your life in the next couple of weeks. I don't know what it is, but whatever it can be, let it be. Take advantage of it.
Very cool.
That's good.
Yeah. Well, welcome back.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah,
Happy
we're
to
glad
have
you're
you.
back.
Yeah. All right. Do you still like me?
Yeah.
Are we good?
Yeah.
Are we good? All
He's
right.
waiting for his conversation. Is what he said. I don't know.
There you go. Yeah.
No, we're excited.
I'm glad we could tell the truth, and I know I'm not alone in these things, and this is what all of us experience, and so I think that's our challenge. Is like we all experience it, so why don't we just all take it seriously and work through so we can have a healthy heart, mind, and spirit.
Awesome.
So thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
For joining me for a real conversation about leading people, organization, change, and for this one, specifically, ourselves.
That's right.
In real time. So don't forget to hit like or subscribe or the bell notification so you don't miss one episode as it drops. And we will see you next time in real time.